independent and impartial. And this is elections week. The election process has already started unfolding. Today and tomorrow, special votes are being cast by those people who cannot be, for whatever reason, be at their voting station or in their voting area on election day. And for the first time this year, actually, special votes for today and tomorrow are only for people in South Africa. You'll remember that on the 27th of April last month, on Freedom Day, all the South Africans who were eligible for vote around the world were able to vote on that day, by and large at the embassies of South Africa in those countries. So voting did start already last month, but today and tomorrow, special votes for people who won't be at their voting district or may be working on the day of Wednesday, when the masses of the populations go to the polls. What we've been doing is going around the country, getting a sense of what the mood is like on the ground. We've been to KwaZulu-Natal, we've been to the Eastern Cape. Now we go to the Northwest Province, and there we find Collen Lemawane. Collen, this is your home province. You understand the mood and the politics of that area. What's it feeling like ahead of these elections at the moment?
Well, good afternoon, Peter. We've been experiencing such, mixed emotions and opinions of voters across the board, especially with my colleagues being in the four cardinal points of the province, telling us that many people that they're speaking to are really divided when it comes to voting in this province. Firstly, when you speak to members of the public, especially the young people, they say that they are going to vote because they believe that they would rather stick to the devil they know rather than vote for political parties that they don't understand and what their policies are. But others are saying that they are undecided. They don't know whether to vote for the ruling party or opposition parties for the following reasons. They say that there are promises that the ANC has made, the promises that the ANC did not keep. And others are saying that this is causing them to be floating voters. So they are confused, they don't know what to say, they will rather decide at the ballot box. And other people are saying that they would like to vote, however, they feel that they should hold back so that they disappear from the voting scene, because politicians only know them during the build-up towards elections, and after that they disappear. And I'll paint a picture about some of the disgruntled voters here in the Northwest who are saying that they are not really happy about the state of roads in the province. When you drive around the Northwest Province, there's a theme that people say that you are driving as if you are going to a wedding because you have to navigate through the potholes. So potholes have been the complaint of the members of the public here in the Northwest. And others are saying that there's actually the blowing hot and cold of the ruling government here in the province, because one would be having an RDP house but not having tenable roads, and they would also have a clinic. Whilst they are appreciating it, they would now not have a well-resourced police station, and if anything can happen to you crime-wise in the middle of the night, when you call 1011, the police are likely to come after 2 weeks to come and investigate the case. That's some of the mixed emotions that we're getting here around the province.
Yeah, that black cable I was saying. Do you see the connector?
Yeah, I can see the connector. Any feedback in terms of how the special votes are going?
Well, there hasn't been anything dramatic about the special vote, except to say that with an incident similar to the one we heard about in the province of Mpumalanga, that a ballot box fell off a truck while it was being transported. Here in the Northwest, there's an incident that we have not been able to independently verify about an IEC official who was seen walking alone, carrying ballot papers and going to help members of the public vote. But the media stopped him and asked him, why are you walking alone? So we wanted to actually ask the IEC a question about the integrity, the feasibility and the procedures of ballot papers and how they should be transported from one point to the other, and the risks involved in terms of one person carrying ballot papers, walking alone, and how safe will they be, and won't there be tampering with those ballot boxes. But in an hour's time, I will be speaking to an IEC official to actually confirm this incident with us. But in as far as special votes are concerned, we have not been able to hear anything dramatic, except that, there have been some service delivery protests here, there, and everywhere, especially in Khanyesa, where some members of the public were saying that they were not able to do special votes because the IEC did not allocate officials to that area. So that's another thing that we'll be speaking about. But Peter, one interesting thing that we need to do during this crossing is just to paint the political landscape here in the province. And I have with me Professor Andre Duvenhage from the Northwest University, just to tell us what to expect and how the political landscape has changed in the province. Professor, thank you very much for making time to speak to us.
Thank you, Colin. Yes, if we look at the political environment at the moment, there's two main features. The one feature is a province in decay, it's not deliver services, and people are reacting accordingly, and then there's a divided ANC. Now, the impact of both these factors are going to be very important on the election result. Already we have seen violence in Kraipan, we have seen instability in Ganyesa, people blocking roads. Some of them are saying they are not going to allow the IEC to conduct the election process over there. So definitely there is a problem here in Northwest. And some people are telling me that this is coming from within the ANC against the ANC. And some of them are even arguing they have seen the ghost of Supra Mahumapelo within this context. Now, there's no clear evidence, but what is clear to me is that the voting percentage is probably going to be relative low. I think the impact is going to be heavy on the ANC, and it's highly likely that the ANC may perform at a lower level than their national average.
Let's talk about the ANC's support here in this province. Is it going to be affected by the perception that it's perhaps going into the election as a divided party because of that towering of Supra Mahumapelo in as far as the internal politics of the ANC are concerned, and also with Professor Job Mokoro trying to neutralize and diffuse the situation in terms of the rivalry of these factions?
Yes, without any doubt, the conflict within the structures of the ANC is going to impact in a dramatic way. I do not see the Supra group accepting the reality of a Ramaphosa-dominated province, so they are going to mobilize on that lines, and we have already seen a very weak campaign coming from the ANC. If you compare this to other elections, it's on a lower level, and I think the impact is going to be big for the ANC. It's opening the field for parties like the EFF and to a lesser extent the Democratic Alliance. Some people are even talking about the possibility of a percentage below 50. Now, I'm not there at this point in time, but it's not impossible that we may end up there if the ANC is divided and the ANC is not going to deliver on Wednesday.
The ANC was rather dominating the legislature with 23 seats, but the EFF usurped all the political parties here. In 2014, when we were standing here, we were talking about the EFF as the new kid on the block. But right now they are the official opposition, and they were the ones who were calling for a motion of no confidence against Supra Mahumapelo.
Yes, without any doubt, they are in the front in their fight against Supra, and it's also clear to me they are not making only inroads in Northwest. The most recent Institute for Race Relations survey is indicating a support base of 14% in KZN. So they are performing on a national level. Their election campaign is on a very, very high standard, and I am expecting them to perform good during the election.
Let's talk about the smaller parties. Is it really a concern that most splinter parties here in the Northwest have fizzled out? We used to have the United Christian Democratic Party. I don't see them here. Others, when you call them for interviews, they say they've quit politics, they are now running churches and so forth. What's happening with smaller parties here in the province?
Well, I think smaller parties in general is facing major difficulties. They cannot compete on the higher level in terms of resources, capacity, and so on. The one smaller party that is performing a bit better is the Freedom Front Plus. I believe on a national level, they can take their support to, let's say, 1.5, maybe 2%. But the United Christian Democratic Party, the old party of Lucas Mangope, they are for all practical purpose not visible anymore. And I think the same is applicable to some of the other parties. We have seen the ACDP performing on a low level. I think Patricia's, the Lil's Good Party, we have seen something of that, but that is not going to impact in a general way. I think the major parties, the ANC, the Democratic Alliance, and the EFF.
Okay, I'm running out of time. Just lastly, this report that Kabelo Matabogo is being punted as the next premier of this province. How far true are these reports? And secondly, what do you think about his reputation, his stature, and his constituency? Because one is thinking that Professor Mokgoro is still the premier of the province. Will the ANC change its mind in terms of replacing him?
Well, I also heard the rumors about Kabelo Matabogi. Personally, I'm thinking that he is still very young, coming from the youth league lines. I think what is in need at the moment in the province is an experienced person. And I think Mr. Job Mokgoro, in the time he was acting as premier, he did an excellent job. And I think he can still make a difference after the election. But we know Mr. Kabelo Matabogi is number one on the so-called ANC list. I call it the so-called list because it's not clear if this is the final list. And he is a very staunch supporter of Mr. Ramaphosa. So it is possible that he may end up in that position. But I think we need experience, we need strategic vision to turn this province around to make a real difference. And I think experience is important.
Right. Thank you very much for your views, Professor. There you have it, Peter. Well, at this time, it's a wait and see kind of a situation because right now we wouldn't know the direction which the leadership of the province will take because we still have an elective conference that has to take place to choose the leader of the province. Will Supraba Humapelu go to the National Assembly or will he stay in the province to lead this organization from the front? And will he want his position back as premier? Well, that leaves much to be desired, and we'll keep you posted of the developments. Coming to you live from Bokonibu Pirima in Mahikeng. Back to you, Peter.
Colin, thanks very much indeed for that update. And I think when all is said and done, what we know for sure is that we don't know anything for sure. And I think there's going to be a lot of speculation. But what we do understand is that there are so many different variables regarding this set of elections than ever before. And not only just because there's so many more parties in the play, but just the characters that are coming through and the issues that are on the table, the number of young people that are voting for the first time and other people voting for the first time, and the uncertainty of who they want to vote for. I read a statistic at some point that said as many as 60% of South Africans who are eligible to vote could be at this stage non-partisan. In other words, perhaps not wholly loyal blindly to one particular party or another. What that will translate to in the votes over the next 3 days, we'll find out, certainly from Friday onwards. But a lot of conversations happening, and some of it from our studios in Johannesburg, Francis.